This episode of the Rock and a Hard Place podcast is brought to you by Tweaked Audio at tweakedaudio.com. Use the code HARDPLACE and receive 33% off your order at tweakedaudio.com.
This is the Rock and a Hard Place podcast.
I'd sit this one out, Cap.
I don't see how I can.
These guys come from legend. They're basically gods.
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Let's not stand on ceremony here.
And now, here are your hosts, Chris Cougar and Paul Gibson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Rock and a Hard Place podcast. My name, of course, is Chris. Joining me as always, well, not as always, but joining me again, as is sometimes the case, is my good friend Paul Gibson. What's up, my brother?
Wow, that was such a well-qualified introduction. I love it. I love it. Yes, I'm back.
Yes.
I have a modicum of sleep and no craziness to get in the way today, and it's good. It's good.
Flat tires and weirdness will kind of ruin a day, won't they? Or an evening, at least.
Yes, they will.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I found out that I have to pay taxes for the first time this year. I'm really sad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We haven't... Well, let's see. I've had to pay state. I think last year, because I didn't withhold enough from my part-time job when I was working for my father-in-law, I had to pay like $150 in state taxes. But I don't remember ever having to pay the feds, thankfully. I've always tried to do a good job of making sure that I'm really close to proper withholdings.
Yeah, well, this is the first year that both my wife and I had reasonably paying jobs, and I didn't have a ton of business expenses connected to my job this year, so that killed me. So.
Yeah, when you're not driving around and putting wear and tear on the car and gas and all of that kind of stuff, it does kind of have an effect on things. So Paul was one of those mobile movie companies, not movie per se, but he would go and do school assemblies showing anti-bullying videos and stuff like that to kids, to youths,
and making them all nice and confused when I played dubstep before said presentation, and they all looked at me like, "Look at that sweet old man. He likes the electronic music. Isn't that they're cute?"
That's awesome. That's all. You got to throw in some like Love Addict or something for Family Force 5 and then see their reactions.
Oh, I don't know if I did Love Addict. I did play Earthquake on a pretty regular basis, though.
Same effect. You throw out, now you could use Viridia with their nice fat breakdowns in the middle of all of that stuff. So lots of good stuff. We're back together again. We've got a good show for you tonight. We're excited about some of the stuff we got going on. Let's dive into the news and see what exactly is going on. Album releases for next Friday. Of course, this Friday being Good Friday. Not a whole lot happening. Not a whole lot going on in the music business. In fact, I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are going to be taking Friday off as a holiday. I'll be voice tracking, so because I don't actually have to be in the studio, it doesn't really do me any harm to go ahead and pretend I'm there.
I'll be in the studio, but it's only because I was given the option and my wife had to work, and so I was like, there's not really a point in taking a day off to sit at home by myself. So,
There you go. So next Friday, April 21st, Maddie Mullen's album Unstoppable drops. That's coming out through BEC. We've got Nothing Left with Destroy and Rebuild. That's an EP coming out of Face Down.
And that's most of the members left over from For Today, sans Maddie Montgomery. And their new project. So,
okay.
I don't know. They've sent me a new single. I have a feeling if it's anything like the stuff that I watched online from this EP, it's going to be way too heavy for my show.
Yeah.
That's why I want to do an interview, but I don't know. It seems like there's not a huge point in it, but I'm kind of intrigued at the same time. So I don't know. We'll see how things go.
Have we heard what Maddie Montgomery is moving into next, or is he just kind of taking some time to figure that out.
He is starting a fashion/clothing company, and I think he's doing some pastoring or like ministry work of some sort as well.
Gotcha. All right.
So,
good to know.
yeah.
And Light the Way is coming out with their album Dude Lame on Indievision Music. So Indievision becoming a label of sorts, I guess. That's one of these days we've got to get Brandon on here and actually talk to him about what is going on with Indievision and just kind of see what his thoughts are as far as moving forward and where he wants to go. So.
Yeah, and it's funny though because that Dude Lame is an EP and it's their second one they've released this year.
Yeah, that's really
fast.
apparently they had a lot of stuff in the can. I mean, well, with an EP though, I mean, there's only typically no more than like 6 songs on an EP. I mean, sometimes you can see 8 if people are really trying to push it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Everything is shifting. Everything is shifting. I was reading an article today about Jay-Z and how he kind of like went through and pulled almost all of his back catalog off of Spotify, off of Apple Music, off of Pandora, and he's pretty much only allowing his full catalog to be housed on his own service Tidal. And people were saying that he's upset that his albums aren't doing as well as they have in the past. But they say when you kind of pigeonhole people and you expect them to only pay for one particular service in order to be able to hear your stuff, that makes it difficult. And then they contrasted him with Drake, who is like saturating everywhere. It's like if a song comes out, it's on every platform. It's available from every streaming service. And Drake seems to be rolling in the dough. Like his stuff is playing often enough to where they would consider his album, had they taken it in that way, double platinum.
Wow.
So, you've got to kind of wonder if Jay-Z maybe is being a little bit short-sighted in how he's going about his music.
Yeah. Well, he's probably also trying to protect his investment because I'm sure he has a pretty penny tied up in Tidal as well. But still, yes. I know what you mean.
No, I agree. So, the selling point of Tidal is supposed to be the quality. So, do your quality, like, have yourself be the high-quality service, but then let your other stuff go out to other services that aren't as good as quality. If that's where the people are, you've got to go to where the people are. You can't expect the people to drop everything and run to you, especially if there's only like 2 artists on Tidal that someone's interested in. Why are they going to go drop the, I don't know, 10, 12, 15 bucks a month to listen to those 2 artists when they can not spend any money and get some of the similar bands on Spotify? This whole streaming thing is kind of crazy to me. I'm still a bit not on that bandwagon, so.
Yeah, ditto.
I just re-downloaded Spotify to my phone the other day to listen to in the car, and I turned on an 80s channel just to hear what kind of stuff they were playing, and I ran out of skips.
Oh, wow.
It was so frustrating. I'm like, I don't want to listen to that skip. And then a couple songs, I don't want to listen to skip. And all of a sudden, it's like, if you want unlimited skips, you need to sign up for the premium service. Like, really? I have to listen to crap because you don't want me to skip it? Because you want me to pay to be able to push that button to skip it? Really? Yes. Yes, apparently they do. So,
yes, they do.
I haven't listened to Spotify since then. It's kind of like if you make it difficult for me to do the things I want to do, I'm just not going to take the time to listen to, to your stuff. That's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah. The only streaming service that I have available aside from Pandora on my phone is I've got the Amazon Prime Music, which is pretty cool. It's not bad. It does feel like it sucks a lot of
bandwidth.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's that. But other than that, I like it okay. But yeah, I don't know. It feels, I don't know if it feels like it's cheating or it feels like I'm listening to a demo or what, but somehow it just doesn't have the same, like, I have a mental block when it comes to it, and I don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering, is there, and because I don't use these services, I don't know, but is there a quality setting that you can put into Spotify or Pandora or whatever to where, thankfully for me, it doesn't matter because we just grouped a bunch of us together onto one plan in Verizon, and so we have the unlimited data now.
Right.
So, streaming wise, that doesn't matter. I could be watching Netflix movies while I'm driving down the road if I felt that was safe and worthwhile. But, so data is not a problem for me, but I know there's a lot of people that are restricted by their data. So Noah's in the chat room. I know he uses streaming audio services. So Noah, I'll put this out to you and you can put it into the chat. Is there a way to change the bit rate to allow for a lower bit rate while you're on cellular mobile? That way you're not chewing through your data plan. Because I can imagine people sucking down gigs of data if they listen to a lot of streaming music when they're not near Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So,
which is weird because, and I think it probably just is that general inherent quality. But like I'll listen to radio stations online sometimes, and their quality, it usually doesn't eat up that much. But the actual Amazon Music one seems to a pretty decent amount. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's interesting. I don't know. I know we have 3 different bit rates that we offer for Broken FM. We have a 64 kilobit AAC, which is the same quality as a 128-bit MP3, but it takes up a lot less space. And then we have 128 kilobit MP3 that we stream through like our website. And because Android phones don't like the AAC format, that the 128 is what gets streamed to Android devices, unfortunately, because we still want it to sound really good. And then we have actually a 28 kilobit MP3, which is really, really bad quality, but we've got like 3 or 4 listeners who absolutely love that quality because they can listen all day and all night and not have to worry about chewing up their data plan. So we make it
Whatever
available.
works.
Yeah, it's pretty much it. Whatever works. So, while I'm waiting on Noah to get back to us, I'll come back around to that and see what he says. Let's dive into the news. Skillet has garnered 3 nominations for the 2017 Billboard Music Awards, including Top Christian Artist, Top Christian Album for Unleashed, and Top Christian Song, easy for me to say, with Feel Invincible. The honors add to their win in 2011 and previous 5 nominations. The 2017 Billboard Music Awards will broadcast live from Las Vegas on Sunday, May 21st on ABC. Skillet's going to be around a while. I don't see them going anywhere anytime soon, unless John and Corey just decide to hang it up. And I just don't see that happening.
Why would they? They basically took like a year off to just play a festival every now and then and record an album.
And they can afford to do that, you know, and not lose their listenership.
Oh, that was one thing that isn't in there either that I just totally forgot that I saw in passing. They are going to be opening up as one of like 5 different bands opening for Korn over the summer.
I did see that. Yes.
So that's pretty cool.
Interesting. Thrice unleashes a new music video for their song Hurricane that's off the recent album To Be Everywhere Is to Be Nowhere, and that is available on YouTube. Michael Sweet is doing a live solo DVD June 2nd at the Narrows Center for the Arts in Fall River, Massachusetts. So if we have any Massachusetts listeners, you can go check that out. Early indications are that his set will include his solo material, covers, and of course songs from the Stryper catalog. I'm wondering if it'll be an acoustic set or if it's like full. It says soloed, so does that mean like solo with his solo artist band, or does that mean solo like just him and not Stryper?
I would imagine it's him with a band. I can't imagine them going through the effort to film him with a guitar on stage. That just seems like that would be a little underwhelming.
Yeah, I don't know. Apparently, there is also a new Tooth and Nail podcast out there. It is called The Stories, Rumors, and Legends of Tooth and Nail Records. The clip here says, go behind the scenes of one of the generation-defining indie record labels in this tell-all podcast. Matt Carter and Toby Morell of Emery, along with the help from Aaron Lunsford from As Cities Burn, take on the task of setting the record straight through storytelling and reporting on what really happens behind the scenes in the music industry. Exclusive interviews with bands, managers, touring crew, producers, record label employees, and the man who started it all, president and founder of Tooth and Nail Records, Brandon Ebel. You can subscribe to Labeled: The Stories, Rumors, and Legends of Tooth and Nail Records. It's available today wherever fine podcasts are distributed.
AKA, I think it's only on iTunes this second. But and also, there's only one episode up, and if it's what I think I saw, I think it's only 2 minutes long. So I don't know what the first one is. Maybe it's just
Probably
an introduction to the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm very curious about it because that's the stuff that I found most interesting off of the Bad Christian podcast is whenever they get into talking about like the old days, like they had Brandon on the show to talk about some kind of his. I think it was really to promote the DVD that was coming out with the Tooth and Nail documentary,
right?
But I found that stuff the most interesting.
Yeah, and I mean the DVD told a lot of stories that were kind of painful to watch. So,
I'm sure there'll be more of those too. But, yeah.
I can't see this. I don't know. Maybe they're considering this a cathartic way to get some of this stuff out in the open and deal with it so that it's all done and over with. But it always concerns me when you hear about this stuff, digging up all of these, ripping open old wounds and that kind of stuff of the potential for problems and hurt feelings to resurface and damage to relationships and things like that. So I guess it just depends on how they handle it. Ultimately, that's going to be the biggest thing.
And I agree. I mean, heaven knows that through a couple of the podcasts that I listen to that do deal with predominantly interviewing band members of bands that I loved in the 90s and early 2000s. And some of the stories they tell you like, oh, man, I kind of wish I didn't know that. I mean, a lot of it is very interesting, but then other stuff I'm just going, yeah, that really colors how I see that person now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, and a lot of it, I also feel like you kind of have to give some amount of slack for people because most of these stories revolve around people who were in their early 20s, if not late teens. And let's face it, we were all a little stupid during that period and have done things that we would probably take back if we could. So yeah, just a little bit, maybe a lot more. So when it all comes down to it, I mean, I don't want to judge people exclusively on that, but at the same time, I think it's also a little helpful because I think we all kind of assume that, what we see on stage of people either just being a good performer or whatever they have to say, from the stage of your local church doing an altar call is kind of like all there is. But at the same time, I think it is, while sometimes it irreparably damages how our ideal of that person is, which is usually completely unrealistic.
Yes.
It's kind of helpful to at least know them as human beings.
I agree. I don't know. The phrase is always said, never meet your hero.
Yeah.
Now, I can't say that any of the artists that I've had the privilege to interview, I can't say that any of them have been heroes per se, but I definitely hold most of them in some form of high regard. I don't put them on a pedestal and think that they're just like these amazing, unreachable people. It's nothing like that at all. It's a matter of I have a lot of respect for them for what they do and them choosing to put themselves out there and basically putting the majority of their lives on hold while they go out on tour and play things for us to enjoy and sing along to and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, I have never, ever been disappointed having met any of them.
Right.
I mean, I'll say that except one, and then I'll qualify that. I did an interview, and I've talked about this a little bit, but in the past. I did an interview with Brian Head Welch, and he had just gone back out on tour after his first solo album since he had left Korn. And they were going to be playing locally. And so I had the opportunity to actually do a phone interview with him, and he was exhausted. Like, he was not used to being back on the tour bus. Red was kind enough to give him a bunk on their bus so that he could have a consistent place to sleep, because literally they were like in van. The rest of the band was in like a 15-passenger van. So he got a spot on their tour bus and was able to go and spend his nights there, well, days, whenever it's like you become an artist, you become like a vampire. You're up all night and you're sleeping a lot during the daytime while you're driving from location to location. But he was just exhausted, and it was hard for him to form sentences based off the questions I was asking him. So what I had literally envisioned being a 20 to 30 minute interview ended up lasting all of maybe 10 minutes. And I don't fault him for that. It was just the way circumstances. But I was disappointed that he was that tired that I didn't have an opportunity to actually have the kind of conversation with him that I really wanted to have, if that makes sense.
It does. It does.
So,
yeah,
I mean, you've done a bunch of interviews. Is there anybody who you felt just was kind of literally phoning it in? And you don't have to name names.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think this is a big deal. I think he was just having an off day. But the lead singer, I don't even remember his name. It's been so long ago and so long since they've done anything. But I'm pretty sure it was the lead singer for the band Ivory Line. He came off as just like he didn't want to do it. Like he was just like he was having a bad day. Maybe he was annoyed at something. He didn't seem like he was angry at me, but you could tell that he just really at that moment would have rather have been doing anything else.
Yeah.
And I interviewed him twice, and I want to say it was better one time than the other, but neither time he felt like he was really all that enthusiastic about it. And I will say that I've had some interviews that started that way and then got better.
Yeah.
Usually those are the ones around album release time when you know they've done probably 4 a day for a week, and they're just sick of hearing like, so, how'd the album go?
Right.
What do you want people to like the most about it? What are you going to do on stage? Half the questions I ask anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, and a lot of them will turn around once they see that you kind of value them as a human being more so than just a person who was part of the machine that put out this album that is going to make music for you. So yeah, I mean, it always is a little different. Now, I will say this. I thought this was interesting, and this isn't crazy weird news because I think a lot of people have probably read some of this, but Jason Dunn, formerly of Hawk Nelson, is going to be on the show, I think, not this weekend, but next weekend. And it's interesting to kind of get his journey because, of course, he started at a very young age in that band, and towards the tail end of it, he was rapidly becoming an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. And just was very much questioning, why am I doing this? Do I believe this? Am I writing these songs because that's what's making me money? Am I writing these songs because Tooth and Nail kind of wants me to write these songs because it makes them money? I want different things than people in the band want. What does this mean? What do people really want from me? Mm-hmm. All those things that I think everybody gets on some level, but when you're on a stage and your livelihood depends on entertaining people and supposedly offering them some sort of like musical spiritual guidance, it's kind of tough.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that was interesting, and I knew a little bit of that, but that was interesting, and I asked him some questions in that interview that were almost uncomfortable for me to ask. So it's definitely worth checking out. Not this weekend, but next weekend on the Christian Rock 20. Hey,
there you go. Nice tease there, Paul. I like that.
Yeah, wasn't that lovely?
Is this one of those interviews that you're going to have to like email out a disclaimer before we listen to it?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it was kind of cute though, because he was like, and then I had some trouble with, well, I don't know really the family friendly way to say this, but let's just say I had a problem with alcohol. I'm just going, I don't know how you can say that would be
family friendly to say it that way.
I don't know. I mean, I work for like the station that its whole shtick is you're safe for the whole family, and
right.
We've mentioned alcohol within the last 2 days, so I don't know. I mean, I mean, we're not endorsing it, but it was it was a topic of conversation for a short amount of time, and it wasn't like he was saying it was the greatest time of my life.
Yeah, exactly. Today, folks, go down to Bevmo and you want to purchase this particular wine. It's on sale really cheap right now, but it packs the most alcohol content for any wine of this price range.
You'll find it in a box on aisle 3.
We've gone in and we've put our stickers all over these boxes so you'll know exactly which ones to purchase. We want to make sure that you get the right box of wine for your Passover feasts.
Was it Manischewitz wine? Is that what
yeah, Manischewitz.
Manischewitz wine. There you go.
Oh man, my second grade daughter, they actually did a small version of the Passover feast in her class, and the thing that stuck out in her head was the bitter herb dipped in the salt water. That was the thing that she had the hardest time with. But apparently every single kid in her class tried it, which, you know, I went to a Passover Seder that was done by my church. We have a guy, a missionary from our church. Like, I grew up with this guy, and his family is Jewish by birth. And they've all, of course, converted to Christianity, but he goes with a group called Jews for Jesus, and he's basically reaching out to the Jewish people, trying to explain to them that they don't need to continue searching for Messiah, that he already came and Jesus was that. But, you know, they still do a lot of the things that the Jewish Orthodoxy requires of them, and the Passover Seder is one of those things. And, you know, I think it's an amazing reminder of what all of that, you know, the Last Supper and that kind of stuff. It really helps that stuff hit home. But that was the one thing that I had the hardest time with, that and the horseradish. Oh. If you ever get a cold and you can't breathe,
It'll
just
open you up.
stick the tip of your fork into a little bit of horseradish. Put that in your mouth. You will breathe free for a month. Nothing will block that. All right. Let's get to Garrett. He has something for us in the crowdfunding campaign.
Now here's something we hope you'll...
Hello, I'm Garrett Godfrey from the Crowdfunding Christian Music Podcast with some updates on some campaigns you might be into. Emery's Indiegogo campaign has now raised over $106,000, more than double their goal, with another 6 days to go. The Indiegogo campaign for Vision of God Records, a Christian metal label, is still just barely taking off, with about $224 pledged by 9 backers. The 77s are over 75% towards their $20,000 goal on the Kickstarter campaign for a deluxe remaster reissue on CD and vinyl of the album Drowning with Land in Sight. This closes May 5th. The Guardian White Cross Pledge Music campaign met and exceeded their goal. Still time to get in on it, though. This closes May 20th. Flagship Armada are at about 15% on their Indiegogo campaign, and it looks like Silverside's Indiegogo campaign hasn't really moved any in the last week either. If you back any of these campaigns or you just want to help them spread the word, be sure to let folks know about them on social media and in real life. If you want to talk about these or another 19 or so other currently active campaigns that aren't rock, including Rich Mullins, Mark Hurd, Over the Rhine, Phil Madeira, Robert Diebel, the Mosleys, and the Grey Havens, join the Crowdfunding Christian Music group on Facebook. We'd love to see you. Until next time, remember, great music doesn't just happen, so get involved.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Garrett. I appreciate that. Let's see here. So, topic for tonight, and we won't go into great detail just because I know we're trying to keep this around an hour if at all possible. But there was an article that came across my Facebook feed, and it was written by Billboard. It came out on the 6th of April, and the headline says, Christian music in Trump's America, 2 artists on the pressure to keep quiet. And so it goes through, starts out with, almost as soon as the past election year started, high-profile mainstream artists like Beyonce, YG, Green Day, John Legend, Katy Perry lob jabs at now President Trump in song, on stage, and on their social media, or sometimes all of the above. Not surprisingly, they say the contemporary Christian music industry has stayed comparatively silent on the subject of Trump. An informal survey of the social media accounts of hot Christian songs charting artists over the last 6 months found practically none making statements of any kind about Trump, including on Election Day and Inauguration Day. Only one song, TobyMac's Love Broke Through, with an attendant music video referencing the Black Lives Matter movement, appeared to engage directly with the current political climate. At the time of the video's release in January of this year, Billboard spoke to Mac, who would only say the song is about how we need God to break through and heal our divided nation. Through their representatives, the vast majority of charting Christian contemporary artists... Now listen to this list. Through their representatives, the vast majority of charting Christian contemporary artists, including Amy Grant, Skillet, Crowder, DC Talk, Britt Nicole, and TobyMac, among others, either did not respond or declined interview requests for the story. I'm curious as to why DC Talk is in the list of charting Christian contemporary artists.
Because that's probably one of the 6 contemporary artists that this guy had heard of, who wrote the article. I mean,
but they're not charting.
Yeah, they haven't been for, what, 10, 15, 20 years?
The only way that they can chart is if Toby releases that new song off of his album. And it's not a single right now.
No. And it's still technically a TobyMac song featuring
DC Talk. Yes, absolutely. So I don't understand that. I mean, to me, that kind of takes this article and like skews it way to the side. So to give you an idea, the 2 artists that did talk are Mike Donahue, who is the frontman for the band 10th Avenue North, and then Matt Maher, Grammy-nominated Christian artist who won Songwriter of the Year at the 2015 Dove Awards. He is also a practicing Catholic. He's protested the travel ban. He's decried Trump's assault on journalistic institutions and all of that stuff. So these guys have kind of come out a little bit, but here's ultimately my thing. When was the last time that you could literally tell in a song that a Christian artist was protesting something political? I mean, don't we typically, as believers, and like the artists that are producing these songs, don't they typically not do things politically within their music and their stage presence?
I would say overall that would be true, especially in singles. The last song that I can think of that I thought was political was, I'm trying to remember which song it is. There's a Newsboy song, Since Michael Tate Became the Lead Singer, that is very political, but it references like not being able to say God's name in school and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember which one it is. We play it on The Fish. But I mean, it's taking a definite, at the very least, political point of view. I don't think it's saying anything to any particular person, more just a looking down on current laws, which, you know, I mean, there's honestly several different ways you can look at most of those laws, but, you know, it's where it comes down to, that's the most political song that I can think of that was a big deal. I mean, if you look back in history, I guess there have been some. I mean, Steve Taylor, I think, has had a few that would count as political. Showbread has definitely had some political songs, but how many people even know who Showbread is? I mean,
right.
You know, there were kind of a big deal within a very small circle for a rather short amount of time. So yeah, I would say overall it is it is not normal for that to happen. I think political issues come up pretty often. Like, I mean, you know, you could easily start numbering off a bunch of anti-abortion songs.
Right.
And you know, and that I'm sure is a pretty safe one to take a side on, especially within the Christian community. You usually don't get a whole lot of arguments with that.
Right.
But as far as things like the travel ban and, you know, things that are very much political, I mean, you know, you can take a Christian, or you can have a point of view as a Christian about those things. And I've heard interesting arguments, at the very least, on most political things. But yeah, I mean, I think that the majority of artists, especially ones that are signed, probably more often than not get advice from the label of, look, you can do that if you really want to, but just know you are going to lose with a small or a large portion of your audience if you go there. And if you don't go there, you should still have plenty of stuff to write about. So pick your battles carefully, because there are some things that you're just not going to increase your sales or your audience size at a concert for a political point of view.
Yeah. Well,
so that's my general thought. But
so I remember during the election cycle seeing some things begin to be posted by some Christian artists. I think of Seventh Day Slumber. Their lead singer, Joseph, was very outspoken in his support for Trump to become president, basing it off of experiences he's had and things that he himself believed about the opposition and that kind of stuff. And he was catching a lot of flack from his fans for posting that stuff on the Seventh Day Slumber page, as though he was speaking for the entire band, as opposed to doing it on his own page and just speaking for himself. The thing I feel like this article is stirring up that's not really necessary is they're implying that the Christians had done a bunch of anti-politics songs about Obama when he took office. And I couldn't honestly say that I remember any different between when Obama was inaugurated either time versus the silence over Trump's inauguration at this time.
And plus, we're pretty early.
Right.
Not a ton of stuff has been published since Trump has taken office. We're still the first 100 days.
That's true. That is true. But then there's another aspect of this that I don't think Billboard takes into consideration. 90% of the radio stations that play Christian music are non-commercial stations. Non-commercial stations cannot be political. It's a big, big no-no. So if you, as a Christian artist, end up getting political, then you run the risk of your song, that particular song, not being played. Because, if it's Broken FM and let's say Emery comes out with a song that is very political in nature, odds are good we're not going to play it because we don't want to get caught in that trap. Churches aren't allowed to stump for a particular candidate. You're not allowed to tell people how they should vote, telling them to vote for one way or another, because you'll lose your nonprofit status. So most of these are non-com, non-profit stations, and if an artist does get political, the song may end up on their album, but it's never going to get played on the radio because all of those non-profit stations are not going to want to deal with the consequences coming in from complaints to the FCC about breaking their policies on political content.
Yeah. And I get that. I hadn't thought about that. I'm sure that is definitely a part of it. And plus, the other thing that kind of comes to mind at least a little bit is, correct me, Broken FM is obviously an exception to this rule, but the average Christian contemporary and even Christian CHR station also is usually geared towards being happy, being positive, and also this will probably be a sexist comment, but also are geared towards women,
right?
And I think my wife isn't normal when it comes to political things. She's a little bit more entrenched in a lot of it, and a lot of it is because of her job as a journalism professor. Mm-hmm. She kind of has to be up on all this, but at the same time, I think, and I'm totally guessing and stereotyping because I don't have a lot of political discussions with female coworkers or other people that I know, but most of the women I know seem to be a lot less interested in politics than the average guys I know. at least to the point of just wanting to just banter about it endlessly,
Mm-hmm.
which to me is actually a good thing. I don't particularly, I get enough of it on Facebook without having to have long, probing, heated conversations in person about it.
Right.
So, I mean, when it all comes down to it, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I just don't think the average radio station, even if they do have a conservative point of view run by conservatives, even part of their mission statement is we are a conservative platform or conservative ownership, whatever. Most of them don't really have a huge gain to get out of all of a sudden turning something that is supposed to be mostly carefree and yay God and Jesus, he saved my soul, into steering that into but you know who I really hate? The president, or you know
Right.
who I really love? The president. I mean, it ends up being, I think, for the average radio station that has their overall, like, above anything, their goal is to try to bring people to Christ. It's an obstacle to put in between you and them. And even if you feel like you want to change somebody's mind politically, usually people want to try to get them to Jesus first.
Right. Yes.
So, I think ultimately there's not a whole lot to be gained. And I think the majority of people who do take a really hard stance on it usually take it on their Facebook page or on their band's Facebook page, or at the very least on an album cut. And they're usually not a band that really cares how many albums they sell. I mean, sure, they love to sell more, obviously, but, it's not something that they're hugely eat up with worry about. So.
Right. So Noah asks a good question. He says, I think the better question is, why is it okay for mainstream artists and not for Christian artists? And in my opinion, I don't think it's okay for mainstream artists. What do you know about politics typically as a musician? I think it's fine to voice an opinion. Everybody's got an opinion. The thing I don't like is when artists do what, in my opinion, is abuse their platform to try to push their particular viewpoint on everyone else. They know they've got a captive audience. So when it comes to politics, pushing that viewpoint onto their audience, they're going to have much greater impact than someone who doesn't have that platform and basically ends up standing on a street corner with a soapbox and a megaphone trying to shout their ideas out to everybody. As a Christian artist, your primary push should be pushing people towards Jesus. Ultimately, that's what your job is. That's what you should be doing, is pushing people towards Jesus. So the time for politics, I think, is secondary to your main mission as an artist who has that type of platform. I don't like it when I see mainstream artists or actors, actresses, whatever the case may be, out there shouting about politics and telling people how wrong things are, no matter what side of the aisle they happen to stand on. It's my personal opinion. I'd rather people that actually know and understand the whole political climate give opinions than somebody who makes their living acting in a movie or standing on a stage singing a song. Now, maybe I'm selling them short. Maybe in all their spare time, they dive into politics, or maybe they graduated from college with some kind of a political degree to where they really have a much better understanding. But until they can show that's what they're educated in, I don't feel that their opinion lends any more credence than the politician themselves saying their statements on either side.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a mixed feeling about all that, and I don't really know how to qualify it. And I'm not saying that to disagree with you.
Totally. You can disagree with me, Paul. It's okay. I don't mind.
Yeah. I mean, on one hand, I totally get the idea that it's like if you have a platform and you really feel convicted that you're watching something go wrong, then it almost feels like in some ways maybe it's wrong not to say anything.
Right.
But at the same time, it's hard because you do have a lot of power, and at the same time, if you don't have that much more reason to know than the average person, it's hard to downplay it enough to where you're just another person and you're just saying, when it all comes down to it, I'm another person just like you. I don't have a degree in this. I've never run for public office, but this is what I see and it bothers me. To me, it's hard to bring that down enough to where it isn't just like, oh, well, so-and-so said that, I must believe it too.
Right.
And it's difficult. And I don't know. it's like I get it, and I don't know that I mean, I guess I do have maybe some sort of a platform. Running a syndicated show is so weird.
Yeah.
I never know. It's like, there could be nobody listening. I don't know. So, you just never really know.
We know that Nick listens because he's the one that told us that we were playing a show from 2 weeks ago.
But also, no one told you about the week before.
That's true. You win. Okay, argument over. Paul wins.
So there's that. But yeah, I mean, I just don't know. But I mean, my thought on it has always been, I take a huge lesson from when I was in college and Evanescence came out, and they were originally thought of as a Christian band. They were being carried in Christian bookstores. There were a few Christian stations playing a couple of their songs. They did have some members that were Christians, and I knew people who knew them when evidently they were a praise and worship band, and whatever. I mean, maybe not praise and worship, but they were more overtly faith-based than they were when their first album came out. And I still remember some band or some magazine asking them a question about what it was like to be a Christian band with such success. And they basically said, we're not a blankety-blank Christian band. Please quit asking us about that.
Yeah.
And my thought on it has always been ever since then, like, why would you say that? Not just like, is that a even going deeper into spirituality of like, are you denying Christ? More along the lines of, why would you just thoroughly hack off what was a huge part of your fan base for nothing?
Right.
It's not like people coming to your shows intent on smoking pot in your outdoor venue to see you are going to be offended that the person next to them is wearing a Skillet t-shirt. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like they're buying your albums. You obviously at least have some faith-based roots, whether you're admitting it or not. It's there. Get over it and just say, well, we have a faith, and it's funny. There's so many ways that you could say that because they were very obviously either just angry about it or they really did not want that label. And, I just don't know. To me, that was always stupid. And I always felt like politics was the same way. It's like, why would you burn bridges unnecessarily and basically kill your own platform for the sake of getting across your own personal opinion?
I feel like Icon for Hire kind of went down that same route to where they basically published a blog that said, "Dear Christians, you can't have us." I mean, that's kind of what Ariel was like. Our mission is to go out and play to these other people, and you don't get us all to yourselves. You can't have us. We're here for them. And my thought is, why on earth would you do that? Why would you take these people that are willing to buy your album, that literally love the music that you're making, and you basically spit on them and tell them that your money is not good because you've already heard the message that we're supposed to be teaching to these people? It doesn't make any good business sense at all to alienate any specific crowd that has decided to support you.
Yeah, agreed. And that whole thing was also weird in that, I think the band Stavesacre went through the exact same thing. They got signed to a secular label to a small secular label after leaving Tooth and Nail. And I've heard their lead singer talk since, and he goes, "That was the dumbest thing I've ever done. I got a big head about it. I basically told people, I don't care if I ever play another Christian club again. I don't care if another Christian buys my album again. We're moving on to bigger and better things." And it's like, that is the stupidest thing you could ever say. It's like, even, I don't know. To me, I'm like, if you're in that train of thought, you probably have lost a lot of ethical things along the way, just guessing. And it's like, why would you care if they give you your money?
Right.
Their money it's like somebody walking into your store and you saying, "You know what? You look like this type of person. I don't want your money."
Yeah.
And I know there are people who do that. I think that's dumb too. So you're offering a product. If somebody wants your product, then give them your product.
Right. Exactly. So Noah says, "I've got mixed feeling about it myself. On the one hand, I find artists who use their platforms to push their views annoying. But on the other hand, I think art is really important when it comes to shaping worldviews and beliefs. In the end, I want artists to share their views of the world, politics included. That's what art's about. But I wish there was humility in the way that they do it." And I think that's a key thing, attitude with how you present your opinion to the people. I think can be a big thing. If you are doing it in a dogmatic way of it's my way or the highway, then I personally am going to take issue with that. You know, we went and saw Red a couple of weeks ago. Tim and I, it was a week ago Monday. And we had Death Therapy that came out and played first. And they did a great job. A little more hardcore than my than my personal style, much more screaming and that kind of stuff. But when the lead singer was formerly with Becoming the Archetype, it doesn't surprise me that that's the style that they just, that they stuck with.
Right.
But he shared a quick message of his faith. And then Wolves at the Gate also took time to share a message of faith before Red came on. So there was a couple of opportunities where these guys took their platform to say, hey, we don't have everything all figured out, and we totally understand that, but this is who we put our faith and hope in. And if you have questions, come see us at our merch table, and we'll be happy to talk to you about it. That kind of stuff, I'm totally fine with somebody coming alongside and laying that out there. They're saying, look, this is the way that I see it, and if you are interested in more information on how I see it, I'd be more than happy to come talk to you. Instead of being up there going, we've got to stop this, and we've got to do this, and he is wrong, and this is bad. I feel like in a lot of ways we've lost the ability to dialogue, to be able to have a conversation with people about things. And instead we feel like whoever shouts the loudest and shouts last wins.
Yeah. Yeah, and I totally agree. And I don't know. And plus, I mean, in general, I mean, I don't think there are very many of us who like it when people yell at us and tell us that we're wrong. Yeah. I mean, that's the reason why maybe Westboro Baptist hasn't taken off and has a bunch of satellite campuses all over the country with millions of people holding signs on the street corner. People don't like it. I mean, and I'm not saying that the gospel has to be all sunshine and fairies. Right. I mean, there is seriousness to it, and sure, there are consequences to our actions. And some things lead to others. I mean, it's not all pretty, and it shouldn't all be pretty. But at the same time, when you lead with, you're going to hell, right? That doesn't usually win you a ton of fans. I mean, maybe it works for some people, but I don't know. I mean, to me, it kind of feels like it falls into the same category of if you're going to spend that much time basically jumping out of the gate and yelling in someone's face and telling them that they're wrong about something. Especially since the average person, while they hold very fast that they are correct in whatever political view they take, most people will admit that most politics is an opinion about an answer. Most people want the right thing to happen. No one wants to destroy the world. Right. But people want to go about it in different ways. And you can almost always find a study that shows that one side or the other is correct, depending on the instance that they use and how they used it. And I mean, there's validity to so many different angles of this, and to like come down so firmly concrete and say, you're absolutely wrong on all of the things on this one political side because that's what I'm telling you. Buy it. Do it now. Right. That doesn't usually work because most people are smart enough to go, well, I might have believed one or two things of that, but you laid out an awful lot there that you seem awfully convicted about, and that seems like a bit much to me. So, yeah. All right. That's just me. Me.
I think that we're similar in some of our viewpoints. I mean, of course, we're definitely going to hold different viewpoints for different things, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we can still be friends and have these kinds of conversations as long as we realize that, I'm not going to push my agenda onto you so that you change and match me, and you're not going to push your agenda onto me so that you can change me and make me match you. If you want to have a discussion about something, I'm all about it. I'm willing to listen to you if you're willing to listen to me. That's how we learn from each other. I mean, that's how we grow with each other. The Bible calls that iron sharpening iron. That's the kind of thing that we need to be doing more of, is having these kinds of conversations. So sorry to get political for this episode, but that article just kind of stuck in my craw a little bit, just because, like I said, they made it sound like when Obama was elected that there were all kinds of Christian artists coming out against Obama or talking about Obama in their songs. And I don't remember any songs being played on any stations that had any kind of political push one way or another. So why would it be different with Trump?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And I think a lot of that is just, like you said, I think that it was them for looking for a mirrored image of what was happening in mainstream music with it. And that, I mean, mainstream music has always had, you know, for years and decades and decades and decades has had, you know, a response to political climate, whatever that may be. And oftentimes that was probably needed. I mean, you know, there were times when there were real problems, there were undeniable issues, looking back on them at least, that were like, okay, that was definitely wrong. And it was good that people were being, you know, some sort of a megaphone to that problem and saying, look at this. Don't forget about this. This is an issue. And that's, you know, I think that's worth something. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, there are certain ways of doing it which I think are more constructive than others. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not really in a huge hurry to get a lot of political songs either. I don't know.
I don't want them. I don't want to deal with that. Having to tell people, I'm sorry, I can't play this. It's too political.
Yeah.
That's going to set off a whole political firestorm that none of us need. All right, Paulie, we've got a song blender.
Yeah, we do. This one I am pulling from several years back. This one's going to be tricky. One's going to be tricky. But it is one that charted. It did well. I know you guys played it. And I know you have interviewed this band on multiple occasions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, Paul takes a clip of a song, a short clip. He flips it around backwards and he bends the pitch so it's either higher or lower. And then he sends it to me and laughs maniacally while I try and flip it around in my head and name the song and or the artist.
And, of course, if you're in the chat room and you would like to play along, Chris, don't look at the chat at all. And if you want to guess, you will get full bragging rights if you figure it out before Chris does.
How do I, well, I guess I just have to shut my phone off then. Okay, so my phone is off. I will actually show it on camera. It is turned off. Okay, so there you go.
Okay.
All right, and now let me turn it on. No. Okay, so here is track number 1. Let's see what we got here. I know this song.
I like it the best when you have some itch that it sounds familiar.
The band is I Am Empire.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! I made it too easy.
That's definitely I Am Empire. But I can't think of the song name. Brain Damage.
Oh, yes!
Is that what it is?
Yes, yes.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Dude, I am not worthy. I am so not worthy.
Oh, man.
That was awesome. I thought I was going far enough back and it was just going to be weird enough to where it wouldn't stand out. But nope, I judged you incorrectly.
I love that song. It's such a good song.
Oh, as do I.
Oh, and that song may still be in our cold rotation. I'm not sure. So it may pop through every once in a while on Broken. But yeah, oh man, I miss that band. They're local. Like they're from San Jose. So we got to actually have them come up and play a show up here a couple of times, and super great guys. Love hanging out with them. Very, very good stuff. I miss them a lot.
As do I.
And actually,
of course, they're kind of scattered.
Well, their drummer, Eric, is now the drummer for Talkie, which is formerly Blood and Water. And Austin, their lead singer, I haven't heard him doing anything. And that guy has a voice. It's funny because I overheard Kevin Young talking to one of his bandmates about I Am Empire. And Kevin's comment was, man, when Austin sings, he does all the things that everyone tells you you're never supposed to do, and he pulls it off beautifully. I mean, that's pretty high praise.
His own thing, man. I mean, it really does feel like a waste that he's not doing anything right now.
I hope he's doing something.
And of course, their guitarist, I don't remember his name right off the top of my head, but he's now the guitarist for Disciple. So,
right. Well, and there was one of the other guys from I Am Empire. I think it was I Am Empire. Started a band called Million Trillion, and they were part of Slow Speak. So I don't know. It's possible that Million Trillion never went anywhere, and that he's now over with Disciple. But I mean, man, I miss those guys. I want to know what happened to Jeremy Spring from Abandoned Kansas. That guy, 2 or 3 years ago,
he's got a new project.
What?
It's called Crusoe.
Is he actually doing stuff with that?
Yeah, there's a single charting right now, or it was a week or two ago.
He was on tour with Emery, like right after Abandoned Kansas got picked up by Bad Christian. He was on tour. He said, I gotta go.
That was the Classic Crime.
No, he was on
the Classic Crime.
Jeremy Spring was on tour.
With the Classic Crime.
Was it the Classic Crime?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the Up the Middle tour.
Okay. But partway through the tour, he said he had to bow out, and then that was it. I haven't heard anything about Abandoned Kansas since then.
I can't get him to answer emails, because I've emailed him 2 or 3 times being like, hey, send me the Crusoe song. I want to play it.
Right.
Because it's a cool song, and it's a new one, too. Like, it's like it's being pushed as, hey, this is our new single. Can't get a word from him. I emailed him. I Facebook messaged him. Nothing.
That guy, I swear, that's a super fun guy to sit and talk to sometime. We did an interview with him on Broken one time, and literally we were on the phone with him for an hour and a half.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know what was the deal. I mean, something went sideways with him, and I don't know what it was. But
too bad. All right, bands we wish would do more music. I Am Empire and Abandoned Kansas. That's definitely 2 right there. Okay, Paul, as we close out, you have 2 Would You Addits. So why don't you kind of take over and let's dive through this real quick.
Okay, so here's the thing. You're going to have to read me the titles, I think. Well, hang on. Never mind.
One is Torn Down.
So, okay, this is a project that was produced by Brandon Mills from Decipher Down. And I heard, if I remember correctly, when I interviewed him for a Decipher Down interview, he was saying that he was really looking forward to this coming out because he was really proud of it.
Okay.
And so I have not played it on the show yet. I hadn't even listened to it till I picked up the clip. Now, the clip is kind of in this variation style that I did before, where you're going to hear the first 30 seconds, then there's a 10-second pause.
Okay.
And then it picks back up.
Okay.
So after the first 30 seconds, you got 10 seconds to left, so we can discuss very quickly what we think, and then we can hear the next 30 seconds.
Okay, let's go. I like it so far.
I know, the guitars are crunchy, right?
Yes. Very. I'm digging it so far. It's about to go back.
Lashes on your back, you hide them in shame. Suffer in silence while your body aches. Slave to the master.
So he's got kind of a Demon Hunter mix on the lead vocal. You know how Ryan has that big kind of huge room sound, a little echoey, a little ethereal kind of stuff going on. They've got that kind of a mix on the vocal, which I don't mind. That doesn't bother me at all. But I dig that. I would play that. I would play that in a heartbeat.
It's interesting. I'm looking at a picture of them, and there's two bigger looking guys who look kind of muscly and whatnot, and then there's a guy who's a little bit thinner, has a really long goatee, who looks like he could be a contemporary Christian singer, but with a goatee beard as a disguise. Like, he looks like he could almost be a body double for like a kind of a more earthy looking Jeremy Camp, maybe.
But awesome.
It's kind of funny. But anyway, I was looking into their little bio info that came with the single, and it turns out that it was produced by Brandon Mills of Decipher Down and John Harrell, who produced stuff for Sent by Ravens and Summerlin.
Okay.
So the album is going to be called Live Again, which I think is also the same as the single, and it's dropping in May. So I'm pretty curious. I think this could go somewhere.
Very, very interesting. I like that a lot. That sounds very good. All right, track number 2.
Yeah, now this one may be a little bit harder to put a pin on. These guys, if I am remembering correctly, they are Welsh. So they are from the UK. And they're called Written in Kings, and the song is called This Is Who We Are. I have a hard time completely coming down one side or another on this track, so I'll be curious to see what you think about it.
Okay, let's take a listen.
You are running around in circles just to keep track of your score. Have you ever been misguided? Have they found your hidden flaw? When you're one voice in a million, trying to stand out from the crowd. When your heart starts beating stronger, we'll be shouting loud. This is who we...
So what do you think?
I like it so far. It's got kind of a little pop punk kind of feel, like a little Stellar Cart almost.
But you swear you're living free.
Yeah, I dig it. Kirk thinks the vocals are a little bit hot in the mix, but I mean that's a pretty common practice within Christian music, is to mix the vocals hot as opposed to the rest of the mix. I mean, especially stuff that is typically adult contemporary. They want the vocals to be forefront so that it's about the lyrics and not about the music itself. So, that doesn't bug me so much. What's that?
I said, heaven forbid.
Yes, exactly. So that's one of those things that we are used to hearing in what we do. So I can't complain too much about that. But
yeah, I don't know. After listening to it again, I think I picked out what I think is my favorite part about the song. I think my favorite part is the rhythm section for this. I think the bass is really interesting and fun to listen to, and I think the drums are kind of fun as well. There is not a ton of guitar in there compared to the rest of it, and I feel like the vocals are maybe a bit dry, I think is what bugs me about them. It's not that they're bad. Feels like sometimes maybe he's trying to go a little bit out of his range on how high he's going.
But that, to me, is what gives it that punkish feel.
That's true. I don't know. Maybe it feels like it needs something. Like it feels like it's one like vocal filter short of something.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it, but it feels like it's inches
like they
from
could
being
have
a lot better.
Like they could have added a touch of reverb to it to give it a little more presence or something.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, to me, that's one of the things that I tend to notice a lot with independent bands who will send in a submission is like, it feels like the guitars sound good. It feels like the drums sound okay. The bass is audible, which is always good. And it always feels like the vocals, like they picked up a mic, they sang it, and then they just plugged it in there.
Right.
It always feels like vocals are the most telling of how it went wrong, or that's where the like it shows how much money they have, because everything else just can pretty much just go directly into it, or they can even use digital drums if they have access to it and they don't have a drummer at the moment, or they don't want to bring him over. They don't want him to come over to Frank's house to record, so instead they just do whatever. But it feels like that's where you can usually tell where the money was or wasn't. So I don't know. I mean, it feels like the vocals needed something, and I can't put my finger on it. But still, I'm curious to see if it goes anywhere.
Yeah,
so often, when we get stuff that's from the UK, it doesn't feel like it connects very well here. Now, I just don't know if that's because there's not as much touring to back it up, or what. But sometimes it feels like, especially in the rock scene, when we get stuff that's British, it doesn't seem like it does anything.
I enjoyed it. So honestly, it
Cool.
sounded good to me. I would add it without thinking too much about it, but I do kind of want to see where it goes.
I'll probably play it, but I'm just curious to see what it does.
Yeah. Okay, so as we close this out, I want to give you my radio station pet peeve. There is a group that is trying very hard to be noticed by Broken FM. On our visitor post wall, there is almost 30 posts by this group starting in December and running all the way into February of these folks trying to push their sound for us to hear. And I want to... if you want to share something with us once or twice, I'm okay with that. But to post a link 30 times, and most of them are the same link, like it's the same thing, and then later on in February they begin to say, oh, well, maybe that was just the song, so they start posting a different link. This is literally a church worship band, and this is a live video of the house mix of this church worship band. And I'm assuming they are trying to get us to play their music. This is not how you go about getting a radio station to play your music. I don't want a live recording through a videotape of your song. Okay? I want an actual studio quality copy of your music. And I want you to take the time to follow the instructions on our website as to how to submit said studio quality recording of your music.
Chris, it sounds like you're being awfully particular.
I can listen to songs backwards and know who they are. Don't tell me I can't hear your music. No. On a serious note, though, people, honestly, don't send me stuff like that. It's garbage. It's garbage.
Chris,
I don't want to listen to garbage. What?
I said you're holding back on me, I can tell. And it really bothers me whenever you are so timid. And
I don't know how else to say it. I don't know how to get people to understand that is not a way to make a first impression. And it frustrates me that you can have all the potential in the world to be the next Skillet or Red or DC Talk or whatever. But if you send me your stuff to my Facebook page from a video of a live recording, you will get nowhere with me. You just won't.
Real talk.
I'm not even going to bother to take the time. And no, Kirk, I won't play your camcorder mix. He's posted it like 6 times so far. I'm sure he's... See, Kirk knows how to get my goat. So sorry for ranting there at the end, but honestly, people, if you're in a band and you happen to hear this, doggone it, go to the website. Don't hit people up on Facebook. To me, it's a sad way to do it. Go to the website, see if they have a submission process. Go through the process the right way. Follow the instructions. Listen to the station that you're going to submit to, and make sure that you literally, honestly think that your music stands a chance on that station. Kirk. Don't send me a piano mix with a drum beat and think that makes it rock. It's not.
Can I share with you my latest story that somewhat fits into this vein that I thought was rather funny?
I would love it.
I put down, as part of my social media promotion of the show, I put down, I don't remember if it was, these people just got added to this week's poll, or these are the current top 4 in this poll or whatever. Somebody who I did not know who they were put in a thing that said, what? Not this band? No, this band in there? And so I was like, interesting. Okay, I get these from fans every now and then that, they were a really big fan of said band, and they don't quite know how the show works, that it's based off of a chart. It's not like I'm actually making a top 30 in my head of bands that I currently enjoy. So just out of curiosity, I click on this guy's
I know where this
his
is
icon,
going.
and I go to his page, and I see that he is the lead singer of said band. And so I write back, and I'm like, well, actually, the way this works is, this band has to have a song that is currently charting on the Billboard, top 30 for Christian rock, and that's how this chart works. And then I sent it, and then I thought about it for a second. I'm like, yep, I'm going to go for it. So then I typed underneath that, and I said, and when I say this band, and I just put ... and left it at that.
That means you.
And I was just thinking, this guy either gets it that it's a joke, or he thinks I'm a total jerk.
Oh, well, apparently he hasn't commented back.
No, he has not.
So he very well may understand exactly what it is that you're saying. He's picking up what you're putting down, and he's embarrassed.
Yes.
We've had that before, too. I mean, we tell people all the time, hey, we play requests, and people will call up and be like, oh, would you play this band? And we're like, never heard of that band. Oh, well, it's my band. You want to hear what we sound like? You know what? No. We have a submission process, but then as soon as that band comes through, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to put that in the to-do later pile. I'm not going to listen to that right now. I don't understand. You never get that second chance to make a first impression. We had a guy, let me see, can I pull this up? I'm not going to say who it is. But we had a guy actually reach out to us and ask us about giveaways. And let me see if I can pull this up real quick. And then I know you got to go, Paul, so I apologize. I'm keeping you a little bit later. And, of course, Facebook is being incredibly slow. So this guy, he sends us a message saying... you guys ever done like a merch package giveaway with multiple items from different bands? And I said, well, we haven't. We don't do a ton of giveaways because we usually have online winners, and so we have to ship out, and that can get pricey. Oh, okay, good point. We never done anything like this before either. My original thought is this. We're a small band that's trying to grow. If we shipped a merch package, Xbox or something, in exchange for that, would you guys say it's sponsored by us and play our song?
Wow, I can tell this guy's done this before. Nice.
So I basically told him I'd need to check the legality of that because that kind of stuff typically falls under like pay to play, which is a big no-no in radio. You know, you can't send me something to give away to somebody else and have that be the criteria for me playing your song. And so I told him that, and he said, I gotcha. I mean, I guess my first question is why would a successful radio station such as yourself be interested in playing a smaller band like me? So now he drops into pity mode. You know, why on earth would you try and be...
Step down out of your ivory tower and...
Yeah, exactly. So I basically say, well, we don't only play bigger names if the music's good enough and you guys are clear on your statement of faith, then we have no problems playing it. I know you've submitted, but I hadn't yet taken the time to listen to the submission as to whether or not it's good enough and can stand against the majors that we play. It's never helpful to a smaller band to stick out in a bad way. So, and he was like, I hope you see what I'm saying. I say that with complete respect. My goal is to grow my band. And I said, you grow your band by being good and by playing a crap ton of tiny shows and creating a following. They then share with their friends, and it builds from there. You also have to write songs that speak to people, songs that create emotion or have an identifiable theme. So, and he's like, oh yeah, that's absolutely, I totally understand that. Okay, well then go do that. Stop focusing on the get rich quick or success overnight or anything along those lines, because that is super rare. Super rare. Not everybody can be a, well, they're As We Ascend now, but not everybody can be that band that all of a sudden they happen to be playing in front of John Cooper, and John Cooper says, these guys are really good. I'm going to put you in touch with this person over here, and they're going to sign you to a contract, and you're going to be able to get lots and lots of success. That does not happen that often. That is lightning in a bottle. And it is super, super rare. Put in the time.
Amen.
Do the work. Do the work. You will be better off for it in the long run.
Sounds like a show tagline to me.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Hey, Chris, who sponsors this show?
They would be sponsored by Tweaked Audio at tweakedaudio.com. You can actually go and use the code HARDPLACE and get 33% off of your order. Not only that, they offer a lifetime warranty. They offer free shipping and a ton of styles of headphones. So go support this podcast with Tweaked Audio. Buy a pair of headphones. And if you want to come alongside us monthly, we'd appreciate that too. Patreon.com. The link is on our Facebook page and on our website. You can come alongside of us. And if we can get some money generated from the Patreon, we can actually like do things like giveaways and all that. So the potential is definitely there for that kind of stuff. So trying to think, is there anything else? I think that's about it. So let's just say... I'm Chris Cooner.
And I'm Paul Gibson.
And we'll try to see you next week.